Hello, Singaporeans. I have been actively interacting with residents, old and young, in Nee Soon GRC to understand the situation on the ground and hear their concerns. In here, I will share the main ones that Singaporeans are concerned with. It comes as no surprise to anyone that the skyrocketing cost of living, especially in relation to housing, was the main concern of Singaporeans across the board. In particular, concerns on these four main causes: food, transport, healthcare, and housing. Younger Singaporeans lamented their inability to afford buying a home for themselves and worried about their future. They lamented how their lives left them with no time and resources to have children. As Singaporeans got older, their concerns became more focused on the cost of food, transport, and healthcare, the lack of welfare benefits, and the inadequacy of pensions. Singaporeans were particularly unhappy about the raising of the GST and the perceived carelessness of the PAP government in doing so, and the lack of jobs, in particular jobs with fair wages, was also a consistent concern. For Singaporeans in their early 20s, worries were centered around securing jobs after graduation and being able to afford housing and families. For older folks, the main worry was low wages relative to the cost of living, unfair employment practices, and being unable to retire. There were also many who perceived unfairness in the hiring, enforcement of rules around foreigners in Singapore, and expressed anxieties over losing their jobs to foreigners. Many Singaporeans also desired more flexible work arrangements. Next, the issue of immigration appears to be of great concern, with Singaporeans consistently expressing frustration, in particular over the impact of the influx of the super rich and foreign money driving up prices for Singaporeans. Then, there was also an overarching concern that Singaporeans was becoming extremely divided and unfair to those who did not fit in with the PAP government's vision of society and the economy. This included those who are being left behind by the PAP's unrelenting focus on economic growth, in particular the poor and homeless. Those who, through no fault of their own, are economically unproductive. For example, the physically and mentally disabled and the elderly and their caregivers. Those who do not fit with the PAP definition of society, for example, singles, divorced, gender and sexual minorities, and those who simply did not want to fit in with what the PAP demands of them. These concerns were expressed in many different ways, but what underlay all these concerns is a broader concern with the PAP's economy and social vision for Singapore. Younger Singaporeans also brought out mental health and mental distress, linking it to the high-pressure nature of Singaporean society, made worse by the rising cost of living. Older Singaporeans worried about the cost and access to healthcare, and about younger Singaporeans. Singaporeans of all ages expressed exhaustion and frustration in different ways, but many people felt that the high cost of living and obsession with economic growth meant that there was no time for other pursuits or any form of work-life balance. Those who expressed frustration with a lack of time and money for having children also expressed resentment at the social and governmental pressure to have children. Right now, there were fears about whether PM Lawrence Wong and PAP 4G leaders were up to the job and whether they had new ideas to address these rising challenges. The people want to hear their plans in details. Or this PAP 4G team is incapable? Just carry on business as usual? What do you think? There was also frustration with the destructive and unfair political landscape. More and more Singaporeans desire a stronger opposition representation in parliament to bring diverse views and or act as a checks and balances mechanism on the governing PAP. And also say that they are fine with a multi-party government, which could be the best thing for Singapore. Lastly, I would love to hear your thoughts on all I had said. I am Puah from Red Dot United. Thank you.